Hey everybody, what's up? What's up? Welcome back. Dr. Jaws here, and tonight we're going to be covering the daggernose shark, Isogomphodon rhynchus. So this is going to be really cool. This is a critically endangered species, and there's actually a lot of research on this species. So I'm really excited to go into it and kind of uncover the story of this shark species. So yeah, hey Howard, welcome back. Good evening to you too. I hope you had a good weekend. I had a pretty chill weekend. Just like saw family and just kind of like took it easy for the most part. But I've been watching a lot of Crocodile Hunter like reruns. Well, not reruns, but like on YouTube. There's like Crocodile Hunter clips and stuff, and I've been watching a lot of that over the weekend. So which has been really pleasant. I'm excited. It's April now, so the water is starting to kind of. Hey Minjus, welcome back. Good to see you. The water is starting to kind of warm up a little bit. In my part of the world, we have shad and herring, really important food fish, are coming back into the bay. And it's really good shark food. So these fish are starting to make their migrations back into the Chesapeake Bay. And then, like slowly it starts building back shark diversity. We may have one or two species coming into the bay this time of year. The water's still really cold. And then as we get into May and June, we get bigger sharks coming in, like the sandbar shark, the bull shark, which I'm really excited about. But hey, also, Howard, busy Easter weekend family, just left an hour ago. Oh, awesome! Very cool, very cool. Yeah, I did. I played like my girlfriend and I went over to see my family, and we played just like board games and stuff. So we had a that's always fun to do. So awesome. But yeah, I'm excited to cover this shark. Unfortunately, I could not find any footage of it, but I found a lot of research, and a lot of research spanning like decades of the species, and most of it actually is modern research, and most of it is like conservation assessments. And it's really cool because, again, I was like watching a lot of Crocodile Hunter this weekend, and it's like that show is so inspiring, and like Steve Irwin as a personality is so inspiring. So I'm definitely in the zone. I'm so excited to go into this shark species that really needs our help. So, and what's exciting, by the way, is I think there is modern debate into whether or not this should be its own genus or it should be Carcharodontis, and I'm kind of shocked by that. But one of the latest papers has reassigned it as Carcharodontis, so like a cousin to like black nose sharks, black tip sharks, bull sharks, sandbar sharks. Like, it's kind of odd to think that this might be in that genus because it's so different looking, and we'll go into that a little bit later. But when you go to sharkreference.com, it says that Isogomphodon is actually outdated and it should be considered Carcharodontis. But that is really recent because Sharks of the World, the IUCN, most sources are saying that this is like still its own genus. So I'm excited. I think we should probably just go ahead and dive in. So we only have a few images of this species. This one is probably, even though it's a preserved specimen, it's probably one of the clearer images of the daggernose shark. So we'll take, a closer look at that. So one thing you immediately notice is the namesake. It has an extremely long snout. I think there's some drawings that illustrate this better. Okay, there we go. So this is kind of like a better diagnostic drawing where it has an extremely long snout and a very narrow snout. Very strange looking teeth too, where they also are like dagger-like teeth, which is kind of cool. And then finally the fins, the first dorsal fin and the pectoral fins are really broad and kind of unusually so. And one weird thing I'm noticing with sharks that I believe this species is near river mouths, but like when you think about like sharks like the actual river sharks, like the Glyphis genus, or like the sailback hound shark, which enters like estuarine environments, it's like there's something about like broad pectoral fins, and I just think it's so fascinating. Like that feels like that's a feature that keeps occurring, and like broad pectoral fins, kind of broad like first dorsal fin. I'm not sure like if that is kind of like a trend that related to estuarine environments, but it's just kind of interesting. Before we get started, I also want to read. Howard was really great to send this quote. So last stream we were, I think there was a reference to this poem, and I think this is a great way to start actually. But Howard was gracious enough to send the full quote from The Outermost House by Henry Beston, and this is about like wildlife in general, because I know last week we were talking about just like animal perspectives and how they are so different from ours, and then also how like, you know, we can come up with classification schemes, we can come up with like data and science, you know, apply to wildlife, but that's not necessarily like how wildlife views itself. Like a great white shark does not call itself a great white shark. It doesn't know what that means. It's just this wonderful animal existing in its own environment. So this is a really cool poem related to that. So I'll read it out loud, and then we'll dive into the daggernose shark. But we need another and wiser and perhaps a more mystical concept of animals. Remote from universal nature and living by complicated artifice, man in civilization surveys the creature through the glass of his knowledge and sees thereby a feather magnified and the whole image in distortion. We patronize them for their incompleteness, for their tragic fate in having taken form so far below ourselves, and therein we err and greatly err. For the animal shall not be measured by man. In a world older and more complete than ours, they move more finished and complete, gifted with extension of senses we have lost or never attained, living by voices we shall never hear. They are not brethren, they are not underlings, they are other nations, caught with ourselves in the net of life and time, fellow prisoners of the splendor and travail of the earth. So this is a really beautiful poem by Henry Beston. There's a couple lines that really catch me. One is gifted with extensions of senses we have lost or never attained. I love that when you apply that specifically to sharks, where sharks can sense electromagnetic fields through the ampullae Lorenzini. We can't really do that. I think there's been, like all living things have an electrical current, and you could do kind of cool experiments like, for example, if you turn a guitar amp, like an electric guitar amp up really high and touch the node to like your palm, you know, you'll hear a change in tone, and part of that is kind of like our extremely weak electrical field or electromagnetic field. But we have no sense compared to like what sharks have, in terms of like sharks have such an intuitive sense of electromagnetic fields, can sense the presence of a living being, or even just like lava flows, like hammerhead sharks, you know, very famous for following like lava flows and like swimming around lava flows based on the electromagnetic fields that they emit, which is really cool. But like sharks, all sharks have that ability to kind of sense electromagnetic fields of living things, and if they're in a certain range, they can detect things that they can't see. And this is a really helpful hunting strategy for like animals that live in the seabed. So animals like flounder is a great example. Like hammerhead sharks can sense a flounder whether or not it can see it, because it can feel the electromagnetic field from the flounder. So that particular line I really love. Living by voices we shall never hear. I love that. I always think about that with vision, where certain fishes or certain sharks, like, I mean, all animals have their own unique perspective on the world, and it's cool that like some coral reef fishes have colors that don't really make sense to us. They're not really for camouflage, but if you look at it from the fish's perspective, they actually might be very helpful, which is really cool. And then I think Howard literally said this last week. They are other nations, and I love that, and I totally subscribe to that. So beautiful poem. Thank you so much for sending this over. Hey Roy, welcome back. I'm just catching up on the comments. So let's see. This is cool, Minjus. I'm working on a presentation of shark electroreception. Sorry, I've got a stupid ad. I'll turn that off. Sorry about that. I had this nice music in the background and the ad came on. Hate that. Kind of surprised it came on, actually. But I'm working on a presentation of shark electroreception. I have to bring up the guitar amp thing. Yeah, it was kind of cool. I did that in my high school biology class, which was... I just kind of did that as like a fun demonstration, you know, where it's like a turn, because I was into electric guitar. It's been forever since I played guitar. Like, it's been forever since I played electric guitar, but I was really into it in high school, and yeah, I just did that as a fun demonstration. So, but that's really cool that you're doing a presentation on shark electroreception. Please let me know how it goes. That's really cool. So it's an awesome field of study. So, but let's take a look. Let's keep taking a look at this image. Another interesting thing. I don't know how much of this is distorted by this actual specimen, but it looks like the shark has kind of like a humpback. This is also reminiscent of the sailback hound shark, where there's the head, kind of like a humpback, and then the dorsal fin, where some sharks just have like a smooth transition from the head to the rest of the body. So it's kind of odd. The rest look like standard carcharodontiform feature or carcharodonous features. The dorsal and anal fins are very equal in size, but everything else looks pretty typical of a carcharodontiform. Let's take a look at some other images. This is from Fishbase. Resolution not so great, but this is a really good example of, like, see how huge those pectoral fins are relative to the rest of the body. They're actually really big. And then you can see how the snout of this animal does narrow down into this like dagger-like point. So it has a pretty large conical head until you get to the actual snout, but this is almost reminiscent of like this kind of like the actual size of the head makes me think of lamniforms a little bit, just in terms of like that's almost like it almost is kind of like that sand tiger like look, except the snout is so different. So but that's a very damaged specimen. Part of the reason why there's not a lot of images and no video on the species is because it's so rare. This is a great resolution of the jaw. So it looks like those dagger... Oh, there we go. So the front teeth have that dagger shape. Very nice long narrow teeth. The back teeth kind of look more like a typical requiem shark a little bit. And this is actually kind of interesting. The front teeth are very like long and narrow. The back teeth look like kind of typical requiem shark teeth, where these are usually kind of in the front of the mouth for things like sandbar sharks. So it's kind of interesting. Jaw set there. Let's see if we can get any more images. I don't know if I have more from this website. And we're kind of breezing through this because there's a lot of research to cover, and again, it's a critically endangered species. This is a ventral image of that same individual. So good shot of seeing how the snout narrows into this like dagger-like shape. I don't know if this is coming out well on the viewer's end, but you can kind of see like the dagger-like teeth at the front of the mouth, so probably really nasty bite. Oh, this is cool. It's strangely torpedo-shaped. I know most sharks kind of are, but this one especially. Yeah. It's an interesting build for a shark, so I'm excited to learn more about its habitat, especially with the pectoral fins. They really kind of catch my eye. I'm curious what this specimen is. Whoa. Okay. Sorry. Isogomphodon oxyrhynchus. So this was named by Mueller and Allais, 1839. So these are the same authors of the bull shark. So these are Mueller and Allais are pretty famous ichthyologists. From the 1800s. This is a really damaged specimen, but not really. You can't really see a lot from this. And this must be an older one. It's called sharp-nosed Isurus. So, and the old name Squalus oxyrhynchus. Everything was called Squalus. So, very interesting. So, very damaged specimen. Let's see. And it's just so damaged that you probably can't get a lot from that. So, but is this one actually might be from the 1800s, because I'm seeing the title BMNH 1843. So this actual specimen right here, this preserved like stuffed individual, actually might be from the 1800s, which is kind of crazy to think about. Wow, that's wild. Alright, I think that might be it for photos. This is a beautiful illustration from the original description from Muller-Henle. So here we have the shark with its famous dagger-like snout. Again, the broad pectoral fins. This one is a male individual. You can kind of see the clasper behind the pelvic fins right there. Nice underside. This is excellent drawing, excellent scientific drawing of the underside of the snout. And you have like the dagger-like teeth, like those needly teeth. It's really cool to see, like the bottom jaw is a lot more narrow than the top jaw, but these are all like very straight pointed teeth. So you can infer probably that this is a fish eater. You know, like long needly teeth are really good for grasping slippery fish. So you could probably infer that this is a very piscivorous shark. Let's see, any more images? A couple, oh. Okay, yeah, these might be kind of interesting, because let's see how recent this one is. That might be a recently landed specimen. It looks a little bit chunkier, and it's kind of amazing. Like, see how like flat, like the snout lies against like the ground. So this one actually might be a recently caught. This one is described as a young of the year male. So this is a juvenile daggernose shark. This one has a lot more color. Oh, wow. And it looks like there's an embryo daggernose shark here. Wow. But yeah, this definitely has more color. You can see like darker coloration on the interior part of the pectoral fins, and then kind of almost translucent the rear part of the pectoral fins, and even the pelvic fins look a little bit more translucent. I'm just gonna kind of keep going. This looks like a lot more fresh specimen. Definitely has more coloration. So that probably a recently landed, recently deceased specimen. Keep screwing up on this website. Great shot. Oh, this is a great shot of both the jaw. Wow, actually look at those teeth. Okay. So this is a really great image of the daggernose shark's jaws with those characteristic needle teeth. Man, they actually look really nasty. And again, excellent for gripping fish. It's really cool to see, it looks like multiple functioning rows on the bottom. So I see like maybe 3 rows of those dagger teeth on the bottom here. But then right here, like kind of the pink area, we were talking about the ampullae lorenzini and the shark's electromagnetic sense. So here are the ampullae lorenzini very clearly illustrated here. These little dots are those electrical receptors. So those are the organs that the shark uses to sense like electromagnetic fields. And what's kind of interesting, depending on what this species is as far as its hunting strategy, I'm kind of curious I mean, those look pretty prominent, and it could be because this is a smaller individual and we get a closer view of it, but it's kind of interesting to think about, like, maybe this shark has a higher concentration of ampullae lorenzini. Maybe the shark, if it's swimming in like kind of muddy waters, like estuarine environments or like coastal environments, and it's a fish eater, could be using those to detect fish that it can't see, or maybe could detect things like flounder or lizardfish in the seabed. So I'm very excited to get more research on the species and to learn more about it tonight. So and I'm glad we picked this because, again, it's a critically endangered species. This individual looks particularly fresh. Young in the year male, so those are young claspers, so not developed. Usually, I forget like what the standard metric is for sharks, for male sharks, but usually I think it's that the claspers exceed the pectoral fins, the pelvic fins. That's a fully mature male. And also you can kind of tell by the shape where if they're like thicker, kind of has more like definition, you could tell. Another thing that you can tell that it's not, I don't think you can see this here, but young of year male sharks have something called an umbilical scar. So it is actually like a scar on the belly that literally is like where the umbilical cord was for. This wouldn't be for all sharks, but like it is a handy feature for sharks that are like viviparous. They do have that scar, and it's a handy way to describe young of the year species, young of the year individuals. And young of the year are very important for fisheries in general because it kind of helps you identify like, okay, so this is how big this animal gets in its first year of life, and what are the parameters we want to think about in terms of like, what habitat does this kind of do young of the year sharks use? Like how big are they? How vulnerable would they be to like certain types of fishing gear? So young of the year is a pretty important concept as far as sharks go, and then I think as far as fisheries go in general. So, but yeah, I'm gonna catch up on the comments, and then we'll take a look at the summary. So let's see. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Howard, vintage taxidermy is disturbing. Agreed. Yeah. Mingus, 200-year-old shark's not bad. Yeah. Agreed. So, Roy definitely a fish catcher. Yep. Sorry, the scar thing. Yes, Mingus. So young of the year, that's for all sharks, male and female. So male and female viviparous sharks. Because it's and the reason I say viviparous sharks is because it is the umbilical scar, so it's like an umbilical cord. Other sharks that are egg-laying have the yolk sac. So they absorb their yolk sac, but I don't think that leaves a mark. But I could be wrong about that. So, but yeah, we'll check out a conservation summary on IUCN Red List, and then other biological details from our favorite summary websites like FishBase. And then we'll dive into the needs of the species. So here we go. So it's been a while. I feel like it's been a while since we've seen a critically endangered shark. But the daggernose shark, Isogomphodon oxyrhynchus, is critically endangered. And here we go. It lives in the northeastern coast of South America. So Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, and then Brazil. So. And it's kind of amazing to see that this actually lives at the mouth of the Amazon. So the Amazon River does drain into this shark's habitat. Let's see what's going on with its status. The daggernose shark, Isogomphodon oxyrhynchus, is a medium-sized shark that occurs in the western, central, and southwest Atlantic from Trinidad and Tobago and eastern Venezuela to Maranhão State, Brazil. It inhabits inshore waters in turbid estuaries, river mouths, and shallow banks at a depth of 4 to 40 meters, so very, very shallow water environment. This species is targeted along with other sharks and or caught as bycatch in intense and largely unregulated artisanal and commercial gillnet and trawl fisheries. Gillnet and trawl fishing effort is intense across most of coastal Atlantic South America, with general patterns of decline and sequential overfishing. In northwest Brazil, the decline of the species is well documented, with the species commonly landed in the 1980s and subsequently becoming increasingly rare to the point where single records are noteworthy. Yikes. Whoa, okay. There are very few recent records, with most recent record a neonate captured in 2016. Oh no. Yeah, that's not good. Demographic analysis revealed a population decline of 18.4% per year between 1992 and 2002, equivalent to a 99% population reduction over 3 generations. Overall, due to the intense and unmanaged fishing pressure that this species is exposed to, its slow life history characteristics that make it particularly sensitive to overfishing, inferred and estimated declines, the paucity of recent records, and ongoing habitat degradation, it is inferred that the daggernose shark has undergone a population reduction of over 80% over the past 3 generations, 27 years, and is assessed as critically endangered. So this is really serious. And the fact that the last record was 2016, what is that, if I'm doing my math right, 8 years ago? Is that really 8? That's 8 years ago. Yeah, that's crazy. That's really crazy. The depth limit is also extremely limited. Some sharks, can take refuge at depth, but like shallow water sharks like this, like that's a really limited range, 4 to 40 meters. When you think about like commercial fishing and how like, you know, deep like trawl nets go, and like how like, you know, how far from shore is a 40-meter environment really? It's usually probably pretty close to the coastline. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what conservation actions have been in place for the species. So in Brazil, this shark has been protected on paper since it was assessed nationally as a threatened 2004. Threatened species in 2004. It is now listed in the Brazilian Ordinance of Ministry and the Environment, which restricts all harvest and trade of the species listed as endangered or critically endangered on the Brazilian National Red List. The newer legislation came into force in December 2014. However, it was suspended for all of 2015 and for the first half of 2016 due to pressure from the fishing industry. Yikes. The ordinance faces ongoing and increasing industry pressure, including a current 2019 court challenge to suspend the legislation again by the Secretaria Nacional de Agricultura e Pesca, SAP, who brought forward the contention that the Brazilian National Red List was designed specifically for terrestrial species. Oh, come on. There are no known protections or conservation measures in place for the daggernose shark in any of its other range states. This is really bad. This is pretty bad. Yeah, this is pretty bad, guys. Like, this is not good. To conserve the population and permit recovery, a suite of measures will be required, which will need to include species protection, spatial management, bycatch mitigation, and harvest management, all of which will be dependent on effective enforcement. Further research is needed on distribution, population size and trends, and use and trade, and species-specific monitoring should be undertaken in commercial and artisanal fisheries. So this is really bad. One thing that strikes out to me is, let's go back to the range. So half of the range is in Brazil, and you know, Brazil is the only country here that has something, and that something is being heavily contested by the fishing industry. So fishing industry, you know, hates this crap, and like they don't want it, and you know, they push back. So there's effectively no enforcement. There's effectively no conservation like protection for this shark. And then on top of that, you have these other 4 countries that have nothing. Like they don't have any protection on the shark in general. And one thing that strikes out to me is like, is this shark migratory? And it really illustrates this, you know, an interesting idea of like, you know, real conservation for species like sharks that like have huge ranges does require coordination, and it gets into that interesting thing of like each country has different needs, each country has different priorities, and one country might be doing a great job at conservation for sharks, but then the minute that shark migrates over the country's boundary into a different nation that really does not have the same kind of level of protection, you know, like it's gonna impact it's gonna impact that species overall, and it's gonna affect, like if you have a country with good conservation next to a country with bad conservation, and the shark is doing well in the country with the good measurements, and then it goes to the country with bad measurements and gets damaged, depleted, it's going to return to the country with good measurements affected negatively, and it's just like, you know, real conservation, truly effective conservation requires coordination for species that are migratory, and sharks being pretty famously migratory animals for the most part because they're so large, because they, you know, occupy so many habitats. Not all sharks are migratory. Like you have like, you know, the horn sharks, like the Port Jackson sharks, cat sharks, like those like to be in reefs and they have high fidelity. But sharks that are kind of more like your bull sharks, like your sandbar sharks, and I am assuming this species, just because it is a carcharodonid, which tend to be migratory shark species, you know, that's a real concern in terms of like, does the shark have site fidelity where it just maybe spends, like different population segments spend time in different areas, or does it travel up and down this coastline? My guess is it probably travels, but we'll learn more about that tonight as we go into the research. But this is really bad because these 4 countries are not doing anything, and then Brazil is trying to do something, but it's getting a lot of pushback from the local industry. So this is not a good situation. So let's see. I don't know if there was any other things going on. Yeah, I don't think I have any more information on this species. So, habitat and ecology. I do want to check this note really quick because I just saw that it said freshwater. The daggernose shark inhabits inshore waters in turbid estuaries, river mouths, but that can also be an estuarine environment, and shallow banks. It has also been recently recorded in freshwater. Wow, okay, so it is a freshwater. So this is actually, on a personal note, this is pretty exciting for me because it's like, you know, my mind was blown when I learned that there were other freshwater sharks than the bull shark. Like, I always thought, and this is just kind of popular fact, like, you know, I always thought the bull shark was the only one known to enter freshwater. And then, I guess maybe 5-10 years ago, I learned about river sharks. There's multiple river shark species that enter freshwater. And now we have the daggernose shark. The daggernose shark is another species that enters freshwater. And what is with these ads? I hate these ads. Sorry about that. But yeah, and it's kind of cool because they all are the same family. They're all the family Carcharodontidae, like the requiem sharks. And so far, requiem sharks are the only sharks that have had this advantage, like have had this adaptation of, and I believe it's called osmoregulation, but like had this adaptation of regulating their internal body salinity to adapt to the change from saltwater to freshwater. And the theory is the reason they do this is because they can exploit prey that other sharks can't. Like, you know, tiger sharks and great white sharks, they can't go into freshwater, they can't go into estuarine water, and so like there's a bunch of prey items that can, and certain carcharodonid sharks like the daggernose shark, the bull shark, and the river sharks, they've evolved this really interesting advantage where they can, you know, enter that environment and exploit resources that the other sharks can't, which is really cool. So unfortunately with freshwater sharks, you know, we live in an age where there's a lot of human population, you know, like, I mean, like major cities are built near rivers, like, you know, a lot of human population pressure in river environments. And so it's like, that is a trade-off as far as like the natural world is a great adaptation. As far as like the Anthropocene, as far as like the human impacted world, it is problematic now because there's so much fishing pressure and so much population pressure and pollution in a lot of rivers around the world. So, let's see. Let me catch up on the comments, by the way. So, yeah. Love that, Howard. Sharks fill every niche. Yeah, I love that. So, Min, just love that. I have choice words for the fishing industry. Yep. It's same here, and it gets tricky. It gets so tricky because it's like, you know, it's I would say, as far as sharks go, I would say that's the biggest debate, and not just this part of the world. Like, I would say maybe every country. That's like the biggest contention of forces, which is like the economy. In some places, the culture. In some places, like the actual food, like the need for protein from fishing. But in some places, it is more about the economy. You know, you have that versus conservation, which actually, you know, indirectly does impact fishing. So it's like, honestly, like having a copacetic solution where you do have fisheries management, you do manage stocks, like, it is like investing in the future of that resource, you know. So it's just like, you know, I was about to kind of say, like, I mean, that is like the biggest contention of forces, like fishing and shark conservation. But in reality, it's like, well, I mean, it is a win-win if you do help sharks, if you do conserve them, if you do like help fisheries in general, like, and don't allow fishing to like completely eradicate stocks. You give those stocks a chance to recover, replenish, and positively impact the environment around them, which in turn enriches the ocean, like, and enriches like the fisheries that you have, so that you can keep fishing. So it's like, honestly, conservation is a win-win. It shouldn't be like this battle. It is actually a win-win, you know. But yeah, so. Yeah, that's a great comment. Actually, let me start that, because like that's and actually both Howard and Minja's excellent comments. So Howard, some of the culprit nations are seriously impoverished. That is an excellent comment, because like, yeah, I mean that is, And like, who are we to say that they should be doing better when those resources might have to be invested in like humanitarian issues, you know? Like that's an excellent comment. Minjus, it's especially hard when it's a place you're not native to, but you want to do something, but you know you're not going to understand the situation. Yeah. I mean, you know, context is so important. I love this, Howard, but they have to keep foreign exploiters out. Yeah, I think that's very fair. Every country has like the law of the sea, where I think it's a United Nations thing, I believe, but it's like you have every seaward, how do I say it? Every coastal country in the world has the 200 is the 200 miles. It's like offshore they have 200. They can claim fisheries rights 200 miles offshore of their coastline. I believe it's 200 miles. It could be 200 kilometers. I forget specifically what the figure is, but that is like the law of the sea. And then if there are countries that are close to each other, the best one I have is like Bahamas and Florida, you know, part of the United States. United States and Bahamas boundaries will converge at the midway point, so that Bahamas has its fishing rights, you know, and Florida has its fishing rights. So yeah, but like to your point, you know, like it would be helpful if, you know, like just making sure that those rights are those rights and those laws are obeyed and foreign exploiters don't infringe on them. And this gets into another interesting question of like, yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly it, Howard. Who is enforcing it? So one thing that might be kind of interesting is we, in the past 30 years, maybe, you know, there is like so much more satellite coverage. There's so much more like, that actually gets interesting though, because it's like, I was about to say like, for commercial operations, there has to be a satellite communication. There has to be like some interface. But then like, sorry, I'm kind of rambling. But like, you're absolutely right, Howard. Like, who is out there enforcing it? That always gets like, I mean, like the ocean is huge, and there's ways you could probably evade detection, right? In terms of like, is there a way you can kind of like, It's tricky. Now I'm actually really thinking about this. Sorry, that's a really great question, because it's like, because you have to land, if you are commercially fishing, you have to land the fish at the port, and the fish has to be identified ideally. But how many ports take the time to identify the fish? And how many ports maybe look away, as far as like, did you really land a tuna, or did you land something that is actually probably something you're allowed to catch? You know, like how many ports look away? One interesting thing is genetic barcoding. That research has been continuing to develop, where you can take a tissue sample of some fish that you landed. It could be like horribly disfigured, and then you just like, but you can get a tissue sample and identify based on the genetics what it is. Now, last time I checked, that process takes forever, but that field has been like growing in interest in terms of like, is there a way to get instant results? And like, it's kind of funny, 2023 was the year that I was getting like, you know, very worried about AI, and like, you know, understandably so. AI is like terrifying, but like, you know, questions like these, problem like these, like I can think about like, you know, like these could be things where AI is helpful in terms of like, can you quickly run a genetic database? Like if I give you a tissue sample, extract DNA, can you run something quickly with like a genetic database? Or like, can you run some kind of like satellite thing detecting like a fishing operation that really shouldn't be doing what it's doing? Howard, they could use drones. I don't know, potentially. I mean, I worry about like operations that are just like so far out, but that is a potential solution. That could be something. So yeah. I mean, like it's. I have one more thing, and I'm trying to remember what it was, but like, oh shoot. I totally forget like where my train of thought was going. But these are excellent questions. Like, like I just saw your comment. Still serious or worried about AI? I mean, honestly, me too. Frankly, like, there's positive conservation things, but I am worried about other things. So we'll see what happens. I'm fortunate that there's a lot of programs I use that are so dumb that I'm like, okay, we're years away from you guys being, AI-ified, but like, yeah. We've got each other right now. Like, I think we'll be okay. But like more importantly, I do think there are some conservation-related questions that AI could genuinely be useful for, and because like the data sets can be so enormous and so much to process, and like in management can be so much to process that like that could be a positive beneficial use for applications of certain AI technologies. So I don't know. And for any further viewers, if you have any comments on like AI solutions, please leave below. As far as like AI conservation solutions, the one that I'm thinking of, which is kind of cool. This is something that a local university in Virginia is doing. They are using AI to monitor shoreline erosion. It's a crazy satellite data set that they can't really process, like human to human. It's just so, it takes so much time to actually process that data set as far as monitoring shoreline erosion. But there is a lab that is working on AI satellite detection, like AI using satellites to monitor shoreline erosion. Which is a beneficial use. That is a beneficial use of that tool. So, which is kind of interesting. So, but yeah, let's keep going on the daggernose shark. I cannot believe it's almost 10. Sorry, these are great questions, great subjects. Like this is one of my favorite parts of our stream. Is just like it's really cool to talk about kind of conservation in this day and age, and just like potential, like what the problems are, what the solutions can be. So yeah, really cool. I hope my train of thought comes back, because I had an important point. I totally forgot what it was as far as conservation goes in general. So let's see, fish base for daggernose shark. Let's see. Inshore shark found over rocky bottoms, entering estuaries and river mouths, feeds on small schooling fishes, including herring, anchovies, and croakers. Okay, so Rory, you were absolutely right. It's definitely a fish eater. Viviparous, generally 4 embryos per brood. Let's see. Oh, I don't think we finished the IUCN Red List blurb too. Okay, maximum size of 160 centimeters, so kind of a smaller shark. Females mature at 115 centimeters. Reproduction is viviparous. Young in the year are born at the beginning of the rainy season after a 1-year gestation, and females are thought to exhibit a 2-year reproductive cycle. Ooh. So it sounds like they, some sharks do this, where it's like it'll be a year of gestation, like a year of like, you can't really say pregnancy, but it's kind of what it is. And then a year-long break. So it's like you have a year of carrying embryos, and then you take a year-long break after you do that. So a lot of sharks have that kind of strategy, but it creates such a long reproductive cycle overall. Maximum age is at least 12 years, and generation length is estimated to be 9 years. This shark migrates offshore during the rainy season and inshore during the dry season. Interesting. So, okay. Let's kind of keep going. This is from NOAA Fisheries. I'm just going to read out new facts. The species once occurred in shallow tropical waters of the central western Atlantic Ocean and Caribbean Sea, from Venezuela to northern Brazil, making it one of the smallest ranges of any elasmobranch species. It no longer occurs in areas of Brazil where it was once previously common. Recent records of the species throughout the rest of its range are scarce. The main threat to the daggernose shark is bycatch and unregulated artisanal gillnet fisheries operating throughout its range. In 2017, NOAA Fisheries, so this is the United States, listed the species as endangered under the Endangered Species Act. Like its name implies, a daggernose shark can be identified by its long and prominent snout. Limited information on its diet and feeding behavior, but some studies suggest the species feeds on schooling fishes such as culipids, which are herring, scianids, which are drum, herring. I mean, they said herring. Yeah, culipids are herring. Yeah, anchovies and croakers. Yeah, croakers are drum. Yeah, sorry. I'm just sorry. Sorry, the culipids and cyanids are the scientific names, and then herring, anchovy, and croakers are the English names, but these are overlapping, so be ridiculous. But given their small eyes and long snout, it's thought the species relies more heavily on sensory organs in the snout than its eyesight when hunting in turbid waters. That's really cool. So that whole idea of the Ampullae lorenzini, being extremely helpful for it hunting, that seems to be kind of corroborated. That's really cool. I really like river sharks, like freshwater sharks or sharks that kind of enter estuarine environments. I just think it's so fascinating that they evolved to do that. It's really cool, and they evolve so strangely. When you think of the Amazon in particular, think of like Amazonian dolphins. Like those look so different from their oceanic cousins. They're like pink, they have tiny eyes, like they have very long snouts, like kind of like needly snouts. I think they're called, I think it is actually called an Amazonian river dolphin. Let's look that up really quick, but river dolphin. Yeah, there we go, look at that. It's kind of cool, like this is a completely different line of animals, but it's kind of cool to see like tiny eyes, so eyes are not really important in a very muddy environment, and then, peg-like teeth, so definitely like a fish-eating animal, and like long, narrow snouts. So it's kind of cool to see that, in terms of like there's something about riverine environments where like that is kind of a helpful feature. So pretty cool to see. So, and I'm excited. I think I'm curious if the stream has heard of river dolphins before, but let's see. Oh, this is cool. Minjus, AI has such huge potential for completing tedious data-related things, yet I feel like we never hear about it. That's true. One thing I'm very curious about and a little nervous about is, AI is coming out into the public now, right? But like a lot of technologies, there's usually like behind the scenes military usage, and I'm just like, I shudder to think of like how it's being used, or how it's already probably been used and how it's continuing to be used, militaristically. Because it's like I feel like it's usually the case in history where it's like a lot of emerging technologies have the military application first, and then they slowly bleed out into the public. So, but yeah, I haven't heard. I've heard so far for AI projects, like I've heard of like behind the scenes research in progress as far as conservation goes, but I have not heard of completed studies yet. So, and what's really cool actually is maybe even this year and maybe next year as the stream continues, it's going to be interesting to see if we run into an AI shark study. Like if we run into a study that actually used AI to process information, like that's going to be really interesting to see how that changes. So we'll be kind of seeing a change in science in real time. Because I feel like in general, older science has been like going out, exploring, like collecting species. Then a lot of the shift has been towards genetics, and also habitat and ecology. So genetics, habitat, and ecology has been kind of like the next thing. And then continuing that, it's getting really interesting to continue to identify shark species that are hiding in plain sight as far as like genetics go. So, but yeah. So Douglas Bay, welcome back. AI gonna take over. Yeah, I am. It's gonna be interesting. What a time! I like when all this was coming out. I think it was a year ago, wasn't it? Like when, oh gosh, Elon Musk, Steve Wozniak, and I feel like there's a third person, Roy Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I have not seen that one. I've seen the original, and I've not seen Terminator 2, and I always hear Terminator 2 is the best one. But But yeah, like, but a year ago, Steve Wozniak, Elon Musk, and I forget, I thought there was another, I think there was actually a lot of people, they signed that open letter about AI and like warning about AI, and it's just like, it's what a time. Very, very interesting. So I'm kind of like, I'm here for the positive aspects, because I do think there are going to be positive aspects. I do have some optimism as far as like there will be positive implications, especially solving really complex problems. But I'm also very much like, oh, dude, the impact is going to be, you know, yeah. Howard, all the YouTube presenters will be replaced with AI fact bots. So. On that note, I want to make a commitment. I will never voluntarily ask for an AI represent. There will not be Robo Jaws. I am like a hippie in terms of like I like doing things organically. Like I'm just. It's Dr. Jaws and nothing else. There's never going to be a Robo Jaws. There's Cyber Jaws. I don't know how to call it, but there will never be a robotic AI Dr. Jaws. You can't. It's just like, it's kind of soulless, to be honest. So I'm like, yeah, it's not gonna happen. You can imitate this stream, but you can never be this stream. A potential AI who's interested, like, no, you cannot do that. So yeah, we're talking about. Yeah, Dr. Jaws must remain a flesh tumor. Yeah, no, I'm curious. I am very curious to see if any YouTuber does that. I mean, like, you guys actually might know more than I do. Has any big YouTuber made AI channels? Like you guys might know more than I do in terms of like, have they ever done anything like that? Because there's one animation YouTuber that I like, that she made like a capture, like a motion capture representation of herself, so it's not her face, it's like an animated thing, but I don't think that's AI. I think it's just kind of like animation. I don't think that's actual AI. So, but anyway, oh goodness, I hate these ads. I just want to listen to the nice Safari music, but I should really get an ad blocker. I know I've been saying this for over a year now. So, but anyway. There we go. Behavior and diet for the daggernose shark. Or no, where they live. Here we go. Turbid waters, estuaries, river mouths, mangrove coastlines. So that's actually a big deal, because I don't know much about. I think Venezuela, if I remember correctly, has damaged mangrove habitat for shrimp farming. I believe Venezuela does have that going on. I forget the status of mangroves in Brazil. There are hammerhead sharks in this area, like small hammerhead species that are also critically endangered, and they overlap this habitat in terms of like, mangrove habitat being depleted. Mangroves can be very important nursery areas for smaller sharks. My favorite image is Florida mangroves for lemon sharks. Baby lemon sharks love Florida mangroves. So there's some great images of that. And a lot of little baby shark species love the mangroves. So and a lot of juvenile fish species in general love mangroves. So and fun side note, our dear friend Connor and I, one year we actually explored a cool mangrove together, and like I didn't see I don't think we saw a lot of wildlife, but like it was a cool moment. Like the water is really clear and you can see like the tree roots and like fish darting between the tree roots. So it's a cool environment. So let's see. The primary threat of the daggernose shark is unregulated artisanal fisheries. The species is caused bycatch and artisanal gillnet fisheries for Spanish mackerel and king weakfish. Weakfish is a kind of drum. Yeah, it's a kind of drum. So, similar artisanal fisheries operate throughout the species' restricted range. So, yeah. So, a lot of this is not looking good. We'll check the shark references summary, and then we'll dive into the actual timeline of research on the species. So this is going to be pretty interesting. I'm just going to scan through this diagnostic thing. This is kind of cool. This shark bears a superficial resemblance to the rhinochimerids, the goblin shark, and certain undescribed species of the Sclerorhynid genus Aprostoris, all of which have a similar long snout. Kind of a cool comment. It doesn't really mean anything in terms of like those are not genetically related or evolutionarily related, but it's kind of cool comment. Because I think last week, I think one of the comments was it does look like a goblin shark, which is kind of cool. So I mean, and it really does, but it's kind of cool that they occupy such different environments. Like, you know, goblin shark being like a deep water shark, and this one being a shallow water estuary shark. So let's see what else we have. I think no more comments other than these really great images. This one so far is my favorite image of the daggernose shark, just because you have this great view of the teeth and then the ampullae lorenzini. So I'll keep that open here. But yeah, let's dive into daggernose shark research. So we're going to go back to 1999. And also just kind of for fun, I'm going to see if I can remember movies from the years that these papers came out. So 1999, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So here we go. Occurrence and biology of the daggernose shark, Isogomphodon oxyrhynchus, off the Maranhão coast of Brazil, and I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, by Rosângela Lessa, Vandyck Batista, and Zafira Almeida. Okay. And let me zoom in so we can get a better look, just in case there's like cool, well, maybe not that close. The daggernose shark inhabits shallow waters of the western Atlantic from Trinidad to northern Brazil, where it is abundant off the coast of the state of Maranhão and the São Marcos and Cuma bays and on shallow coastal banks. The distribution of this species has been associated with hot, humid climates and highly turbid waters, where mangroves are the dominant system. Okay, this is really cool. This is more details, and I'm excited for this. So, The species enters bays during the dry season and moves to the shallow banks off the coast during the rainy season. So one thing that's really cool about that is if you think about it, in the dry season, the river or the bay does not get a lot of rainfall, so the water is going to be a bit saltier. And then during the rainy season, all of that rainwater is pushing fresh water out, so it probably is making the environment less salty. And it probably is not the shark's favorite thing. So that makes sense that like during the dry season when the salinity is higher, it comes into the bay, and then during the wet season, it goes out. That totally makes sense. So that's pretty cool. I just read the next sentence. This is probably due to the decreasing salinity. Sorry, I literally just read that sentence right after my own epiphany. So, okay, yeah. Both juveniles and adults were caught throughout the year. Males mature at 103 centimeters, females at 115 centimeters. So this is about 4 feet at most to do that conversion. So the females outnumbered the males in the overall sample. Female length varied between 55 to 145 centimeters, males from 60 to 125 centimeters. Pregnant females accounted for 70% of samples collected in January, the rainy season. They bore recently fertilized eggs or very small embryos. Non-pregnant adult females in this period showed heavy ovaries, indicating imminent mating. Pregnant females containing embryos as large as 37 centimeters were collected in November, the dry season, suggesting that birth may occur at the beginning of the year when rainfall starts. Interesting. I wonder what the correlation would be where if birth occurs at the beginning of the year when rainfall starts. I don't know. I'm curious like what the advantage would be for that. But anyway, gestation seems to develop from January to December. Variations in several organs related to both the rainy and dry seasons indicate a fairly defined cycle for this species. The maximum size of the litter was found to be 7 embryos. Fecundity cannot be related to female size. A resting break may take place between 2 successive cycles. Both the absence of migration and general traits of the whole shark community confirm that the study area has important conservation value. So this is 1999, so remember the 80s were kind of like the peak landings for this species, and honestly the 80s have been like kind of like the heyday. I feel like the 80s were really the big decade of like a lot of shark fishing, a lot of shark crashing, and increasing interest in sharks scientifically, just by themselves. So we'll zoom forward to guides. Figures. I kind of want to see. So we got the distribution area of the daggernose shark in South America, and the collection site. Okay, so it's the same range that we've been seeing up here, and then this is the collection site in northern Brazil. Okay, interesting. I'm just going to take a look at figures. So male daggernose sharks, there seems to be, if I'm reading that correctly, seems to be a lot of mid-sized species, more presence in the dry season than the rainy season. Females seems to be equal presence between both seasons during their sampling. I'll just kind of skip through this because we have quite a few papers to go through. But I love that abstract. Yeah, we'll probably skip ahead because it's already 10 and there's quite a few papers to go through. But I really do love that abstract where it's kind of confirming that this shark is very seasonal, and then also loves mangrove habitat, love highly turbid waters, the hot, humid, mild climates. It's really cool to start to continue to paint the picture of this species. So, yeah. So, oh, Roy, mangroves are like shark daycares. Love that. So, oh, sorry, I missed a lot of comments. Hold on. Robo Sir Duckless Babe, Robo Jaws. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wait, Quebblecop. Oh, I'm really curious about this. Okay. Not exactly big but there's one guy named Quebblecop, might be spelling it wrong, but it's really bad. What's happening? AI creeping in commercials, very disturbing. Yikes. Yeah. Making sharks daycare. Love that. Small shark. Hey cousin, how are you? Cousin hungry. As far as I know, they don't have producible jaws. Oh, cool. That would be kind of cool because I think you're right, Howard. I feel like they would have mentioned that if they did, but that would be a useful feature. So producible jaws would be a useful feature for fisheries, fish eating. So, Midges, I'm very curious about Quebblecop, by the way, because I don't know Quebblecop very well, but I'm aware, and is there something going on with his channel? Do you know? And I'm just kind of curious. Next paper is, this one is from, what is it? Uploaded in 2014, but this actual paper is from 2000. So, The Perfect Storm. You didn't think I would bring that one up. The Perfect Storm movie from 2000. That is a fun movie. I actually really like that. I mean, it's a sad movie, but I actually really like that movie a lot. It's pretty fun, and I think it's a true story. But I think with George Clooney and Mark Wahlberg, it kind of makes it less tragic. It's a good movie. I have a relative in that movie. They play a extra, but it's pretty fun. I like Perfect Storm. I like the vibe of Perfect Storm. That's a fun movie. If you guys haven't seen it, I really enjoy it. Age and growth of the daggernose shark, Isogomphodon oxyrhynchus from northern Brazil. Same authors with the addition of Francisco M. Santana. So here we go. So same authors with a new edition. Age and growth of the daggernose shark, Isogomphodon oxyrhynchus from northern Brazil, were determined from 105 vertebral sections. Okay, so they're using the vertebrae like tree rings. So they're using that we talked about that recently, but they're doing that with the shark's vertebrae. So vertebral sections stained with alizarin red S, representing 46 males, 52 females, and 7 specimens of unknown sex, and verified with length frequency analysis of 1,135 specimens. Marginal increments did not show significant differences throughout the year, and it was assumed that one band is formed annually. This is really cool. So, like trees, a band of the vertebrae is formed every year for this species. Now, this is tricky because, I think shark scientists used to think every shark deposits a band or grows a new band in their vertebrae every year. And the reality is, some sharks have exceptions to that rule. So it's like, sometimes bands can be deposited multiple times throughout the year. Sometimes bands are deposited over multiple years. So you have to be careful with it. But for this species, it looks like a growth ring is formed annually. So different tests provided varying results for growth curve comparisons between sexes. The curves are similar despite biological differences. Von Bertalanff, I can't pronounce this. I should know this because we've seen this many times before. Von Bertalanff growth parameters estimated from back calculated mean lengths, observed mean lengths at age, and length frequency analysis were of the same magnitude. Let's see. Parameters ranging from observed length at age were chosen for describing growth of the species. So it's like, okay, largest female age from the vertebrae is 12 years old. Okay, yeah. So the largest female was estimated to be 12 years old, so 12 is theoretically the maximum age, whereas the largest male was aged at 7 years. Neonates showed one band in the vertebrate formed at birth or soon thereafter. Males are mature at 103 centimeters or 5 to 6 years, and females at 6 or 7 years. So what's kind of sad about that is, like, I kind of feel like that's, as far as sharks go, that's not terribly long. Like, that's a pretty quick that's a pretty rapid age of maturity as far as sharks go, 6 or 7 years. And it's just really sad that the species is still critically endangered concerning that. So, no, I just saw that. Okay, sorry. Oh, Royce, savage. Imagine the most clickbaity YouTube channel of saturated Fortnite colors for thumbnails. That is Quebblecop. Wow, Minjus, he's using an AI version of himself. Gameplay, voice, face cam, and script is entirely done by AI. It's very obviously all done by AI. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's crazy. So, that's crazy. And again, I mean, like, I don't really watch Quebblecop that much, but I'm aware of who he is, and he's kind of a big name. Like, that's crazy. Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. So, that's terrifying. So, I am sure that, yeah, then there's probably going to be other big name YouTubers who are going to do the same thing. So I promise, I swear to you guys now, I will never make RoboJaws. I will never make RoboJaws, and I will never, if for whatever reason, if we get big enough where we can get sponsors, I will never sponsor soda because I can't drink soda. If you see me shilling an ad for like Coca-Cola or something, you know I've gone to the dark side because I actually can't drink soda. So, but I promise these to you now, I will never make an AI channel and I will never sponsor soda because I can't drink for it. It's also bad for you. So, but some sharks have exceptions to the rule. I feel like you should start counting all the situations it applies to. Yeah, that's like, so I love that you said that, Minjus, because that's basically biology. Like it's kind of frustrating and it's also kind of fun. Oh, Sir Douglas, wait, why can't you drink soda? So I can physically drink it. Like, I'm not allergic to it or anything. It's just like, it's the carbonation. It always bothers me. I don't know why, but like, because my brothers like soda. Like, my brothers, both of them, totally cool soda, but for me it's like, it's just something about the carbonation that just always bothers me. Like, I just can't get past it. So soda, seltzer water, like it just irritates me. So I'm not a fan of it. I can drink it, but like, it's just like, I would never advertise for soda because it's just like, it's just lying. It's just like, I don't like it. So yeah. Oh, Minjus, at least you have a good plan for next year's April Fool's joke. Yeah. I forgot it's April Fool's today. That actually, so I never really do April Fool's pranks, but there was a really great one. So some of you might know this, but so my alma mater is the College of William and Mary. So that is in Williamsburg, Virginia. And what's really cool is that William & Mary is actually it's the university that VIMS, the Virginia Institute of Marine Science, is connected to. So So, and VIMS is like, as far as Virginia goes, VIMS is the #1 place to study sharks. Like and VIMS is a pretty famous, like I know VIMS is not like world famous in terms of like pop culture. Like, you know, I would say pop culture famous places for sharks are like Woods Hole because of, you know, Jaws and stuff, and also Woods Hole does quality research. Moat Marine Lab, pretty popular. Scripps Institute of Oceanography in California, major famous places, right? VIMS, you know, I know it doesn't really get that much clout in kind of like pop culture, like pop ocean culture, but in terms of the shark world, VIMS is a solid place. So it is a really, they've produced amazing shark research. So this is one of the draws for me at William & Mary. But anyway, one thing that I remember, I did not particularly, I forget if people did this or not, but I forget if people did this prank or thought about this prank, but it was basically, if you know anything about William & Mary, it's located in near Colonial Williamsburg, which is like a living history museum, harkening back to the colonial American period. So they have like a lot of farm animals, a lot of livestock. And so someone wanted to do a prank where they would get 4 sheep and smuggle them into the school and then paint them with the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 5. So that people would constantly look for the number 4-1. So it's like a prank within a prank. Prank where it's like, oh my god, we let sheep loose into the school. And then there's this other one where it's like people who are trying to clean up that mess are like, where the hell is number 4 sheep? Like, when in reality there was only 4 to begin with. So it's one of my favorite prank stories. I forget if they did that or not, but like it's one of my favorites. So oh, Roy, hey, yeah. I appreciate fellow soda adverse person. I tend to stay away from soda it overstimulates my tongue. Yeah, same here. So you were in good company. So oh my gosh, Minjas, oh my god, that would drive me insane. Yeah, it's a diabolical prank. So it's really good though, but it's diabolical. So for this particular paper, I think this is mostly kind of the same kind of research for the daggernose shark, so we'll kind of keep going. What's the next year? Ooh, this is a good one. I think this one is from Field Guide to Requiem Sharks in the Western Atlantic. I won't move up to, this is a big document, so I won't move up to the top of the page, but I think if I remember when I was loading this is 2009. So 2009, I'm trying to think of 2009 movies. Did Avatar come out? I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a big Avatar fan, like the James Cameron Avatar. I love Avatar, The Last Airbender, like the original animated series, love it. But the Blue People Avatar, I'm fine, it's fine, you know. I don't hate it or anything, but I'm not a big fan of it. I have conservation friends who love that movie. I'm like okay with it, you know, it's fine. But I think that came out in 2009, if I'm not mistaken. So, but anyway. Daggernose shark. So this might be more of a descriptive guide. I do love this illustration, but no interdorsal ridge, first dorsal fin, anterior pectoral fin axle. I won't read all of this unless something really stands out to me. Oh, okay. Ueno and Sasaki reported a small spiracle on the left side of the head, but whether this is a consistent feature for all daggernose shark is not certain, since only one specimen was examined and other references do not mention the presence of spiracles. So that's interesting, because I wonder if these original researchers caught a different kind of shark and may have misidentified it as a daggernose shark. A horrifying concept is, what if there is a daggernose shark that has spiracles, and so it's like it could be 2 species, but I think if there's only one record of this, I'm more likely to suspect that these 2 authors might have misidentified the shark that they were handling. So, pretty interesting. The upper and lower teeth are narrow and erect and finely serrated. So those needly teeth, they're good for fish, but like they're finely serrated, which is really interesting. Let's see. Habitat: coastal estuaries, river mouths, and rocky bottoms. Strong association with mud bottoms. So that makes sense. That totally makes sense because it's like, think about like fish that bury themselves in the mud, or shellfish like crabs that bury themselves in the mud. I don't think. I think they just mentioned fish species for this. Actually, let's go back. If we remember the fish that the prey items that they mentioned anchovies, they mentioned herring, and they mentioned drums. Now, what's interesting about that is anchovies and herring are both migratory species that can ascend fresh water. So those are actually very famous, actually arguably the most famous group of fishes that go from the ocean to, except for salmon. Salmon are famous too, but like salmon and herring and anchovies, like these are famous fishes that can enter freshwater environments, enter estuary environments from the ocean. Great source of protein for predators. So like when you have things like right now, like in the Chesapeake Bay, where I am, we have the herring and shad run right now where they're coming back into the bay. It's a great source of protein for predators here, like bald eagles, or the sharks that are going to come in the summer, or like dolphins, which are here, like they're here this time of year. So it's a really important species in that way. So it's kind of cool that the shark, again, it's evolved adaptations to enter these estuarine environments and to hunt effectively in these estuarine environments. So it's kind of cool to see that, like, okay, its favorite prey items are uniquely linked to estuaries. The other group were the drums, and drums are also famous estuarine fish, and drums are fish that like to stick to the seabed as well. They are fish that like to kind of be close to the bottom because they love to eat invertebrates like marine worms, mollusks. So that's actually really cool that there's that comment that there's a strong association with muddy bottoms, because that works with the prey items. So species account illustration adapted from Bigelow and Schroeder, famous mid 20th century ichthyologists. So I love Bigelow and Schroeder. There's a lot of big names here, including Campagno, famous Campagno, late 20th century like superstar. Very cool. So great illustration of this species. Great. You can see the this vertical line right here is just mentioning that the first dorsal fin origin is right above the pectoral fin insertion. So for daggernose sharks, that's not really that big of a deal because it's like it has such a unique feature of the dagger nose that you can easily identify it. But for the other sharks, like the Carcharinus sharks, it's stuff like that, little details like that are really important for identifying species. What's kind of cool, I'm starting to notice this with this diagram. I know it's probably fuzzy, but I can see a little bit of the serrations on the center of the blade of the tooth a little bit. It's kind of fuzzy, so it's hard to see, but all right. We'll kind of keep going because there's a lot of papers. What is this one? This is from 2009. I already named Avatar, the film, so I'm just going to, this one is not about the daggernose shark specifically, but I'm just going to fast forward. This is identification of phylogenetic inferences on stocks of sharks affected by the fishing industry of the northern coast of Brazil. Let's see. 3/4 of the specimens, so this is 2009, and this is Luis Fernando da Silva Rodrigues Filho, Tanya Carrera de Rocha, Pericles Sena do Rego, Horacio Schneider, Ira Kilda Sampaio, and Marcelo Valminotto. So 3/4 of the specimens collected were either Carcharinus porosus, this is a small-tailed shark, Rhizoprianodon, so this is a sharp-nosed shark, we don't know which kind, but it's a sharp-nosed shark, while a notable absence was the daggernose shark, previously one of the most common species in local catches. The study emphasizes the value of molecular techniques for the identification of cryptic shark species. So that's terrifying. So this is 2009, so this is a decade after the 1999 study, which didn't really mention in detail daggernose shark decline. So this is the end of the aughts, where it's like, okay, we're really not seeing daggernose sharks. So that's actually kind of terrifying. So 2009 was like the first mention that like, yeah, we're really not seeing daggernose sharks. Of concerning these factors, the Brazilian Environment Ministry has included a number of species on its red list that include the sandbar shark, lemon shark, daggernose shark, nurse shark, whale shark, and all species of the genus Phaena, so the hammerhead sharks. However, scarce reliable data are available on the elasmobranch species being harvested or the size of the catches, this being especially the case for northern Brazil, where research lags far behind growth of the fishing industry. Yikes. Let me read that again. This being especially for the case in northern Brazil, where research lags far behind growth of the fishing industry. So that's a really sad fact. I'm glad we took a look at this study. By contrast, the results of this present study also indicate that one of the most endangered species of the region, the daggernose shark, does in fact belong to the genus Carcharhinus, as argued by Compagno. This species, so that's interesting. I mentioned at the top of the stream that recently I think it's been reclassified as Carcharhinus, but in 2009, it's kind of interesting to see that, like, hey, this whole Isogomphodon thing, this really kind of doesn't make sense. It actually belongs into the same genus as, like, bull sharks, small-tail sharks, black-nose sharks, you know. This species is once among the most common sharks in the Braganca fish market, was not even collected in our study. This further supports the classification of the species as critically endangered due to a combination of restricted geographic range and overexploitation by the fishing industry. Yeah, so that's a pretty critical study, and that's 2009. Again, when was this assessment made? This was 2019, so 10 years later, critically endangered. What's kind of wild is that this study is still calling it the daggernose shark. The Isogomphodon is the scientific name. I did not draw attention to this on sharkreferences.com, but if you look at sharkreferences.com, look at that. It's called Carcharhinus oxyrhynchus. I looked it up like as Isogomphodon, and it didn't come up. So this is really recently updated. So, and it kind of, I mean, it's not like it's being split into different species. It's being reclassified, but it's still kind of like, it's kind of wild. This is a critically endangered shark, and we're actually still revising its taxonomy. So this is a really cool study, so I definitely want to dive into this. I want to catch up on the comments as well. So let's see. Oh, Rory, I'm still trying to finish Airbender right now, and I'm loving it. Is this the Netflix series, or is this the animated series or the live action? Because my friends and I, my girlfriend, mutual friends, we watched the live action recently, so I'm just kind of curious. Midget's never seen the Blue People one. I think there was a new one, the Avatar: The Way of Water, which I've not seen at all. I heard it was not as good, but anyway. So, oh, Rory, the animated one. Yeah, I love the animated one. Like, it's like Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra. I love both of them. I know Korra gets some flack sometimes, but like I love both of them. So if anyone's never seen those series, highly recommend it. Excellent series. So. Oh, Rory, also, were there any shark teeth that are serrated similar to a stingray barb? That's a great question. Off the top of my head, that's an excellent question. I don't think so. The closest I can think of, like when you think of like jaggedy, gnarly teeth with that kind of shape, this is not even close, but I just think of like tiger sharks that have like the heart shape, the comb. Like I can't think of anything else that is like remotely like that. This is a great question for Howard too, like because I know Howard, like you have a lot of fossil teeth and work with a lot of fossil teeth. Is there any shark tooth that kind of resembles a stingray barb? I can't think of one personally. Like maybe some deep water sharks, but I really can't think of one off the top of my head. Ooh, one of the most serrated was Paleocarcharodon orientalis. Let's definitely look that up. Paleocarcharodon orientalis. Definitely want to know what that is. Whoa! Look at that! Oh, that is awesome. Also known as the pygmy white shark, is a genus of shark within the family Odontidae that lived about 62 to 56 million years ago during the Paleocene. That's crazy. Checking our shark timeline, which is conveniently at the top. That is ancient. Wow, that is right after the Cretaceous period. That is so cool. Oh man, that is so cool. Wow. There, I'll keep that open. By the way, I haven't forgotten. We still have a fossil special coming up, so I will have more details as I get them. Still coordinating on that on my end, so but I haven't forgotten. Just as a quick reminder, we are doing a fossil special soon, so I will keep you posted when that continues. But I'm really excited about that because my colleague was working on a project in March, but April they should be ready to collaborate on that, so I'm excited about that. So but yeah, this looks awesome. That's super cool, and it's cool to see like the little cusplets as well, so very cool. Thank you, Howard. That's awesome. All right, I definitely want to let's do this Endangered Species Act review from NOAA. And what's kind of cool is like I always talk about the IUCN Red List. I love the IUCN Red List, and I think this is I think this is the best like de facto assessment for like how endangered a species is. I just love the organization. I think it's really interesting, and I mean organization is in like how they classify things, not the actual group per se, because it's really more about like how they structure things. I think it's so interesting. And so that being said, I'm not as familiar. Like I've worked on things with like the Endangered Species Act, but like I've not really like I'm not as familiar with the American Endangered Species Act and where sharks fall into that, because I kind of defer more to the IUCN stuff because it's more international. But I'm very curious to see this. This is kind of like I think this is our first Endangered Species Act deep dive, so I'm excited to see this for the daggernose shark. So here we go. By Grace A. Castleberry and John K. Carlson. So, okay, this status review report was conducted in response to a petition received from Wild Earth Guardians on July 8th, 2013. 2013 movies. Gravity with Sandra Bullock. To list 81 marine species as endangered or threatened under the Endangered Species Act. NMFS, the National Marine Fisheries Service, evaluated the petition to determine whether the petitioner provided substantial information indicating that the petition action may be warranted as required by the ESA. In a Federal Register notice, NMFS determined that the petition did present substantial scientific and commercial information, or cited such information in other sources, that the petition action may be warranted for 19 species and 3 subpopulations of sharks, and thus NMFS initiated a status review of those species. This status review report considers the biology, distribution, and abundance and threats to a shark species from the southwestern Atlantic and Caribbean Sea, Isogomphodon oxyrhynchus, the daggernose shark. I'm very excited about this, so let's check this out. Also, kind of continuing this game, 2015, Mad Max Fury Road. Love that movie. There's a new one, Furiosa, coming out, so I'm very excited to see that. But yeah, this is a really cool deep dive of the species, so let's check it out. I will just scan most of this and just shout out if there's something kind of interesting. Status review is necessary for the daggernose shark. Okay, this is kind of more like the parameters. Okay, here we go. So 2015, Mad Max Fury Road year. This is still considered Isogomphodon. So the daggernose shark is the only species in the genus Isogomphodon in the family Carcharodontidae. The species was first described in 1839 based on an 18-inch long type specimen caught in Suriname. The daggernose shark has common names in several languages other than English. It is called Requin Picun in French and Cazon picudo in Spanish. There's a number of different common names in Portuguese, including, which makes sense because Portuguese is the main language of Brazil. Cacau pato, cacau I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, Bicudo, Cacao, Quati, and Bico de Pato. The most prominent feature of the daggernose shark's anatomy is its elongated snout. Campagno described the snout as extremely long and flattened, but not trowel-shaped, ending in an acutely triangular point. Its eyes are very small and circular with nictitating eyelids, like the nictitating membrane. Its teeth are narrow and serrated with over 45 rows of teeth in each jaw. Sexual heterodonty tooth dimorphism appears to be absent, but there's weak ontogenetic heterodonty with stouter tooth cusps on adults. So this means that larger sharks, like larger individuals, have slightly different shape in their teeth than the juveniles. It is generally, here it is again, it is generally accepted that daggernose sharks lack spiracles, although one specimen was found to have a small spiracle on the left side of its head. That could be, if that is correct, then maybe that could have been a genetic mutation, perhaps. So I'm not sure. Maybe for that one individual, it kind of makes sense. Many sharks have spiracles, and maybe a mutation could have been developing the spiracle when in this species that gene usually is not activated, potentially. So another guess. So the pectoral fins are very large and paddle shaped. Let's see. The dorsal side of the body is a uniform gray or gray-brown color. The ventral side of the body is white. So side view of the daggernose shark external anatomy. Really great focus on the large pectoral fins. So underside view of head of the daggernose shark. The daggernose shark occurs in central western Atlantic Ocean, Caribbean Sea. We know where it lives. Campagno reported the daggernose shark occurred on the eastern central Brazilian coast in Bahia State. These claims have been unsubstantiated as the species is unknown to local fishermen and has never been caught in fisheries surveys in the area. Currently, the daggernose shark's Brazilian range includes the states of Amapá, Para, and Maranhão, with Tubarão Bay and Maranhão as the easternmost limit. The range of the daggernose shark is one of the smallest of any elasmobrink species. So that's actually really interesting to me in particular. The range of the daggernose shark is one of the smallest of any elasmobrink. So sharks and rays, it's one of the smallest. Because when you look at let's zoom out. I think that still looks pretty big, and that's kind of amazing that as far as sharks and rays go, that's really limited. That's pretty interesting to me, that comment. And it just, again, kind of hones in on the fact that sharks and rays, we know they're charismatic, but they're just uniquely large animals with large ranges compared to a lot of other animals species. Because you think about a lot of reptiles are very localized, mammals kind of localized, reptiles and amphibians are very localized. Reef fish can be pretty localized. Birds have enormous ranges, but it's kind of cool to see that sharks and rays usually have pretty large ranges, and this is considered small as far as they're concerned. So, Anyway, the daggernose shark is a coastal species. Is commonly found in estuaries and river mouths in tropical climates. Different maturity stages occur together in shallow waters between 8 and 40 meters deep. Daggernose sharks are most abundant in estuary and river mouth areas during the Amazonian summer, the rainy season, with males arriving in shallow waters from deeper seamount habitat earlier than females. That's interesting. There is no documentation on specific winter habitats of the daggernose shark. Conflicting reports exist on the preferred substrate type of the daggernose shark. Campagno states that the species occurs in association with rocky bottoms, but Lessa asserts that they are strongly associated with muddy bottoms. They are often found in association with mangrove coastlines and prefer highly turbid waters. It's really cool. So turbid, fancy word for muddy, cloudy waters. But daggernose sharks seem to prefer low-lying and indented coastlines that can have tidal changes that vary much as 7 meters. That's huge. They are found in waters ranging from 21.5 to 31.5 degrees Celsius. That's really, really, really warm. And salinities between 13.96 and 33.6 parts per thousand. Salinity is considered a determining factor for the distribution of species, but does not prevent the capture of daggernose sharks in shallow waters during the rainy season when waters are less saline. Now this is particularly interesting to me because so roughly 30, I think it's 35. So parts per thousand is a very useful scale of salinity. 0 is fresh water. 35 is like full blast seawater, but I'm kind of like anywhere in the 30s is, you know, basically the ocean. What's interesting to me is that the lowest salinity is about 14 parts per thousand, and that's still fairly salty. So usually when they break up like estuaries and like estuary habitats, you have fresh water is like its own habitat. Brackish water, which is 0.5 to 10 parts per thousand, is kind of the cutoff. That's also called oligohaline. So brackish water or oligohaline, those are the same habitat. Sometimes like really brave freshwater fish enter that environment. Really brave saltwater fish enter that environment, but it's usually like not a big mixing zone. 10 parts per thousand to 18 parts per thousand is called mesohaline. And that's a really good mixing zone where you have probably really bold ocean species entering that habitat, and the boldest of freshwater species entering that habitat, but really not a lot. So in our part of the world with the Chesapeake Bay, this is where smoothhounds live. So dusky smoothhounds do go that far upriver. But it's not fresh water. So it's kind of interesting. I think I recall at the close to the beginning of the stream that observation of the daggernose shark lives in fresh water is kind of recent. So because it's kind of cool. This is nowhere near fresh water is kind of my point of that. So anyway, the last chunk of habitat is 18 parts per thousand to, I guess, like 32 parts per thousand, and that's called polyhaline, which is a very salty environment, and that's really a lot of sharks use that habitat, but it's still kind of unique to estuary sharks. And then above 32 is full seawater, also called euhaline, so which is kind of cool, but fun breakdown of salinity. So. And I love salinity regimes because I live in the Chesapeake Bay area. I mean, that's all about, it's the largest estuary in the United States, so it's just like, it's such a very important feature. So I think estuaries are really interesting environments, and like, you know, I do love those breakdowns because you see such a change in wildlife depending on where you are in the estuary. So anyway. Diet and feeding. Little is known about the diet and feeding of the daggernose shark. Bigelow and Schroeder and Compagno suggest that they feed on schooling fishes such as clupeids, cyanids, herring, anchovies, and croakers. It's speculated their small eyes and elongated snout emphasize the use of their rostral sense organs over eyesight when hunting in turbid waters. It makes sense. Again, it's really cool to see that Amazonian dolphins, like Amazon River dolphins, also have tiny eyes, and both those dolphins and this shark are using the same environment. Very cloudy water. They don't really need to use their eyes that much. It's so cool. In Marajo Bay in Brazil, daggernose sharks are found eating catfish. That's really cool because catfish are also a very big estuarine species, and catfish love the bottom. Like, they love muddy bottoms. They love like just sitting there and just like grabbing worms and stuff. So pretty cool. Growth is similar between males and females. We won't go into this because I feel like we've seen a lot of this. Estimated age of maturity are 5 to 6 years for males, 6 to 7 years for females. Maximum age was estimated to be 20 years. The largest male was estimated to be 13. Interesting. This is more details about their maturity. We don't have to super go into that. The reproductive cycle of daggernose sharks in Brazil is synchronized with the rain cycle. That's really cool. The rainy season runs from January to June, so we're currently in the rainy season right now, I guess, in Brazil. And the dry season runs from July to December. Overweight in non-pregnant adults suggests that follicles develop throughout the latter part of the year, resulting in heavy ovaries during the rainy season. Let's see. 70% of the pregnant females collected in the rainy season were carrying a recently fertilized egg or very small embryo, suggesting the ovulation period takes place at the end of the dry season or at the beginning of the rainy season. Pregnant females are found in deeper waters, but there are no specifics on exact depth range. Female fecundity is low, commonly ranging between 3 to 7 embryos per female, although there's been one reported female of 8 embryos. The largest litter was 7 embryos. There's no significant relationship between female size and litter size in daggernose shark. The largest full-term embryo was 43 centimeters. Let's see. The gestation period is approximately 12 months, with a protracted birthing period throughout the 6-month rainy season. Mature females captured with flaccid uteri and white follicles indicate that there is a break in follicle development between two. So this is basically saying it's a 2-year reproductive cycle again. Mating and gestation periods can be postponed to compensate for climate variability and changing environmental conditions across years. Very interesting. Let's see. These demographics, so as far as like demographics go for the species, as far as like population goes for the species, daggernose shark places daggernose sharks towards the slow-growing end of the fast-slow continuum of population parameters calculated for 38 species of sharks. These species generally have low potential to recover from exploitation. So again, this is really sad to say. This is not looking good for this shark. Here we go, distribution and abundance. And I'm sorry, this is such a cool study that I realize it's 10:40. So please leave a comment for next week's shark. Let me catch up on the comments, by the way. Sorry, I've really been into this study, so yeah. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, very cool. Howard, vestigial spiracle. Mingus, definitely a possible case of the spiracle never disappearing during embryogenesis. I love to look into that in sharks sometimes. Really cool. Oh, Roy, I love Smoothhound. Awesome, very cool. Me too. That's one of my favorite sharks. There's a cool thing. I think it's called, Squalus marines, or Squalus marine. Oh, Sir Douglas Bane, have you done the cow shark? We've done one of them, but we haven't done. There's multiple species that we could still cover. So let's see. I think we did the 6-gill shark. Let me double check. I'd be totally happy to go back to that. The Roy brown banded bamboo shark. I don't think we've done that one. Let me check I'm gonna check the Erectolobiforms playlist. Cow shark did pop up first, so oh, we did. Yeah, we did. We did do. It's episode 32. So we actually did the brown banded bamboo shark in episode 32. So here, let me write that down. Episode 32. But good suggestion though, because they're really cool. Let's look up. I am pretty sure we did the 6-gill shark, and there's a couple different kinds of 6-gill shark. There is a Pacific species that I don't believe we did yet, which I think would be really cool to do. Let's see. Bramble shark, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we did the blunt nose recently, but I don't think we did another one. I'm just absolutely making sure. Blunt nose 6-gill. Alright, so I've got 2 suggestions then, because yeah, we did not do that. Okay, awesome. Ooh, big eye 6-gill. Hold on. What species? Oh, that's a cool one, actually. Yeah. Hixanthus nakamurai. Let's do it. Yeah. Okay. Great suggestion. So that was like a tag team effort between Sir Douglas Bane and Roy. Let's do that. The big eye 6-gill shark, because that one is, if If I remember correctly, that's kind of the scary looking one, which is cool. Heptranchius perlo, the 7-gill shark, is also kind of scary looking, but I think big eye 6-gills are really cool, so. All right, so let's do it. Great job, guys. So yeah, we'll do next week the big eye 6-gill shark Hexanchus nakamurae. That one is going to be really interesting because like I just saw a quick look at the pictures online. That one's going to be awesome, actually. Oh, the teeth are gnarly. Yeah, let's do it. Oh, that's going to be a great pick, guys. Very, very, very great pick. So that's going to be really cool. So, all right, so we'll do that one next week. All right. So distribution and abundance for the daggernose shark. Records of the daggernose shark have occurred in Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, Berlin, and the States. There's no quantitative or qualitative abundance or trend information for daggernose sharks anywhere in their range. Though the IUCN Red List assessment states the population is declining. The only data available are species catch records and museum collection records most commonly reported in the GBIF database. The majority of these records are undated, making it difficult to infer a historical abundance estimate or any current trend in population abundance from our records directly. In addition, there's a question of the validity of some records from the GBIF database, and the website does not guarantee the accuracy of the biodiversity data. Thus, while we do provide a summary of these records, the accuracy of the records is not completely reliable. Now, that's a real shame because we know this is a critically endangered species, but we just don't have a real clear benchmark of like how bad is it. So most information available on the distribution abundance of the daggernose sharks come from Brazil. Daggernose shark specimens are housed in several different museums around the world. All right, we'll just kind of go through this. The review of the species biology stated the population abundance declined by 18% per year for 10 years from the mid-1990s to mid-2000, resulting in 90% total population decline, but we were unable to find explicit statistics and studies with data that could support or contradict these statements. In recent years, the absence of daggernose sharks in Brazil and places where they were previously common has been noted. A genetic analysis of sharks being sold in fish markets in northern Brazil, where daggernose sharks were once sold in abundance, found no daggernose sharks in the market between October 2005 and December 2006. That's really bad because that covers the whole season. You know, the wet season and dry season, so that's not good. Although their abundance in fish markets could indicate that artisanal fishermen are following Brazilian law, which prohibits the catch of daggernose sharks without special research permits, it has been noted that these laws are poorly enforced and frequently ignored. Additionally, daggernose sharks have been absent in research surveys in Maranhão between November 2006 and December 2007. So again, that's a whole complete research year. A whole complete season, wet season, dry season, where they were once caught abundantly prior to 1992. Yeah, it's not looking good for this species. That's not good. Other countries, there's very little information available on the distribution and abundance of the daggernose shark outside of Brazil. Yeah. No information can be found on the existence of daggernose shark in Venezuela. Increased levels of artisanal fishing pressure are likely to have caused dramatic population declines in the last decade. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I think we can skim through this because, again, we haven't really seen an Endangered Species Act entry, so I think this is pretty interesting. So the National Marine Fisheries Service is required to assess whether this candidate species is threatened or endangered because of one or a combination of the following 5 threats listed under Section 4 of the Endangered Species Act. So in order to become an endangered species, it has to be destruction, modification, or curtailment of habitat or range, overutilization for commercial, recreational, scientific, or educational purposes, disease or predation, inadequacy of existing regulatory mechanisms, or other natural or human factors affecting its continued existence. So here we go. So the first one, present or threatened destruction, modification, or curtailment of habitat. Daggernose sharks are frequently found in shallow waters along mangrove-lined coast from Trinidad and Tobago to northern Brazil. There's been a dramatic decline in mangrove forests around the world for decades. It is estimated between 1980 and 2000 there was a 20 to 35% decline in global mangrove forest area. Let's see. The current estimate for mangrove forests in the world is less than half than what it once was, and the forests that still exist are degraded. Of the countries where daggernose sharks are found, all but French Guiana showed declines in mangrove forest areas between 1980 and 2005. However, the available data on mangrove forests in both French Guiana and Guyana were poor. It is likely that forest loss occurred in French Guiana was more severe than estimated in Guyana. The main cause of mangrove forest decline thus far has been anthropogenic disturbance. Coastal areas under high population pressure, and this has led to the clearing of mangrove forest for infrastructure, aquaculture, agriculture, and tourism. Historically, mangroves were harvested for the use of wood, but it's rarely the main cause of contemporary permanent mangrove loss. Improper shrimp farming practices pose a huge threat to the survival of mangroves and the surrounding ecosystems. When done incorrectly, shrimp's always destructive. Shrimp stuff is When done incorrectly, shrimp aquaculture can lead to significant eutrophication and ultimately dead zones in surrounding waters. Right. Climate change and human response to climate change poses a major threat to the future survival of the remaining mangrove forests. It is thought that the biggest threat to mangroves will be sea level rise. As sea level rises, mangrove seaward margins will retreat. The survival of the mangrove forest will depend on the mangrove species' ability to colonize newly submerged habitat at a rate equal to or greater than sea level rise. Okay. Since it's almost 11, I'm just going to skim through more of this. Many countries have conservation efforts in place in response to the decline of the world's mangroves. Brazil is the only one that has laws in place to protect mangrove forest. As far as the daggernose sharks range, it's only Brazil that has measures to protect the forest. Additionally, Brazil has established new coastal protected areas to preserve existing mangrove forests. According to the FAO, between 2000 and 2005, there was no mangrove loss in Brazil. As human population increases in South America, increasing coastal development could pose a large threat to daggernose shark habitat. Let's see. It looks like... Yeah, I mean, it looks like, there's a lot of... It's kind of cool to see in each section. The habitat destruction is kind of like the biggest one. Overutilization and commercial recreational scientific or educational bird pursuits is also a big one, because there's apparently directed fisheries for daggernose sharks, but there's also indirect fisheries where daggernose sharks are caught as bycatch for fisheries for Spanish mackerel and king weakfish. Yeah. The value of daggernose shark fins is low, but its meat has been sold in markets from artisanal fisheries for decades. Bigelow Shredder also noted that though daggernose shark meat was not considered a desirable food, it was sold in markets in Trinidad as likely sold in Guianas. Information on catch daggernose sharks in fisheries is very limited. At this time, we are unable to provide any further information on potential changes in fishing. There's no information available regarding diseases or predators that pose a risk to the survival of the daggernose shark. Regulations. Let's see. Brazil's the only country that has protection. But it's poorly enforced, particularly occasional fishermen. There's been fishing industry pressure. Poverty, lack of education for artisanal fishermen, and increased artisanal fishing effort around how Brazil has contributed to the decline of many live populations, potentially including the daggernose shark. And then that relates to, Howard made a really interesting comment earlier too, where impoverished nations tend to be the ones with not so great conservation efforts. And like, it's interesting to corroborate that where, yeah, poverty is a factor in terms of the fishing effort on daggernose sharks here. So. Apparently Brazil had a national plan of action for the conservation of lazarbanks. It considers the daggernose shark to be one of the country's 12 species of concern. It recommends a moratorium on fishing with the prohibition of sales in terms of scientific evidence to support recovery. But again, it's just like, I appreciate there's focus on the species, but there's not enforcement on it. So, let's see. Yeah, and that's really it for this assessment. So it's not looking good. And I'm sorry if I read like too much of that, but it's just like it is interesting to have like a nice, clean. Let me put the look of this, or sorry, the link to this in the chat, by the way, because this is a really clean. Hold on. There we go. There we go. This is a really nice, like, clean, complete overview, and like an in-depth overview of basically what's going on with the species. So, and like, we won't have time to go through the whole thing tonight, but like, I really appreciate, this is a great case file on the daggernose shark and its conservation needs and what's happening to it. And I hate to be depressing because I know a lot of conservation can be pretty depressing, but it's not looking good for the species. So because this is a critically endangered species, we'll kind of push on for a little bit longer, a little bit past 11, not too long, but I do want to briefly look at some of these other papers just because it's a critically endangered species. So here we go. And we'll just go through the abstracts and figures, but here's one from 2015 again. Oh no, 2016. I'm trying to think of 2016 movie. Rogue One. I don't really love that movie, but anyway. Close to extinction, the collapse of the endemic daggernose shark off Brazil. So this is from Rosangela Lessa. Lessa is actually a pretty famous name. Vandix S. Batista, Francisco M. Santana. So here we go. The daggernose shark is endemic to the northern of South America from Trinidad and Tobago to Tabarro Bay and Maranhão State. Were collapsed since the 1990s due to several gillnet fisheries for teleos fishes, fisheries targeting sharks, including the daggernose shark itself, and trawling for shrimp. So this is getting more into detail in terms of like why it's declining, and it's interesting to talk about shrimping specifically. Based on gillnets with meshes 80 to 200 millimeters, we analyzed the intrinsic and extrinsic vulnerabilities of species throughout different scenarios investigating species resilience. Samples were collected from December 1989 to September 1991 off the coast of Maranhão. Mortalities were, only a scenario without fishing allowed for the population to remain in equilibrium. It's kind of oddly written, to be honest, but anyway. The survival of young specimens between 1 to 6 years was critical to sustainability. According to the elasticities, it exceeded 70%. I'm just going to scan through this. Using the data collected 1980 through 90, the species was globally categorized in 2006 as critically endangered, similar to assessments in Brazil in 2004. After a 3-generation period, the species, which did not recover, is now collapsed, matching the predicted quasi-extinction condition, which claims for urgent and effective conservation measures. So this is really interesting. Quasi-extinction condition, I've never seen that for a shark before. I know we talked about the lost shark and the Pondicherry shark recently as potentially extinct species, and it looks like the daggernose shark is going to be in that same boat. So let's see. And I like this highlight section, by the way. The demography of the daggernose shark indicates a sharp decline in population. The juveniles are the most important for the sustainability of the species. So if you protect juvenile shark habitat and whatever the juveniles need to survive, that's the key to recovering the species. The daggernose shark was one of the least resilient sharks in northern Brazil. Fishing mortality was the cause of the daggernose shark's collapse. The species is now considered well on the way of extinction. This is an interesting paper because that's actually IUCN Red List, the assessment is a little bit more clinical. This is kind of more like, oh, we are losing the species. So that's really, really sad. Let's see. We'll just kind of go through the figures. I want to see if there's something that kind of shows population decline overall. Because these are really interesting figures about, like, these are life history parameters, but I want to see like fisheries landings, just out of curiosity if they have that. It looks like they don't have it. But this particular study, yeah, that's the most explicit description that we've seen of any shark. The species is considered well on the way of extinction. So, interesting. This study, I don't think that has stuff or research on the daggernose shark specifically. I think it just mentions it in brief. So, let's see. Yeah, so we'll kind of skip over that. Okay. This one is from, where is this one from? 2017. I don't think I can name a movie from 2017. Oh no, The Last Jedi. Yeah. Anyway, a multiplex PCR approach for the molecular identification of the conservation of the critically endangered daggernose shark. So Nachagal, Rodriguez Filho, Sadre, Valenoto, Penal. Let's see. The daggernose shark is an inshore tropical species endemic to coastal waters, northeastern South America, with limited distribution and restrictive biological traits. According to IUCN, it's critically endangered due to dramatic population decline. Let's see. So this is kind of more about like genetic monitoring. So the reliable molecular system of identification combines the advantages of low cost and high throughput. It may be used locally to monitor the capture and trade of this critically endangered shark species. But so this is kind of like I was talking about, like how you can genetically identify fish that are landed, even if the carcass is beyond recognition. You can genetically identify. This is one of those studies, but unfortunately, we might be too late as far as the daggernose shark is concerned. So let's see if there's any figures. This is really just kind of more about genetics, so we'll kind of keep going. What is this? I think this is a study on okay, so we won't have time to go into this in detail, but this is talking about sites, and a lot of shark species are listed on Appendix 2, so it's kind of like a convention on trade for shark species, and it's kind of like, it's a big deal if a shark makes it to the CITES list. It means it's really endangered. And it looks like there's a proposal to have many sharks, like the Borneo shark, the Caribbean reef shark, wow, the lost shark, the Pondicherry shark, the night shark, and the daggernose shark, a lot of sharks here, added to CITES Appendix 2. So it looks like these species do not meet the criteria. I don't know if we have a lot of time to go into this in detail. So these are all the species that are proposed to be amended in CITES. It's kind of sad to see some of these names. The dusky shark, that's a species that has always been vulnerable when I was like at college. Now it's endangered. Caribbean reef shark, I never knew that one actually was in trouble. Sandbar shark, again, very famous vulnerable species, now listed as endangered. Daggernose shark, sharp-toothed lemon shark. Oh, the sharp-toothed lemon shark, also known as the sickle-fin lemon shark. That one is, oh, wow. Pondicherry shark. Yeah, so we're just catching up on the comments. So, yeah, I agree, guys. I hope it's not too late for the species. Let's see what future research. Let's see. Evolutionary history and taxonomic reclassification of the critically endangered daggernose shark. This one's from 2023. I don't know if I can name a movie from 2023. The Batman came out. Was that? That was 2022, I think, right? The Batman was 2022. But anyway, I can't believe I can't think of a 2023 movie. Because I know I've seen something recently, but let's see. Then I'm just gonna scan this. The daggernose shark is a carcharodonid, which is endemic to a limited area. One of the smallest ranges of any New World elastic species. In recent decades, the daggernose shark populations have been decimated by human impacts, which have led to the classification of species critically endangered. However, there's considerable debate on both the validity of the species and the status of Isogomphodon as a distinct entity from the genus Carcharodonus. The present study is based on molecular assessment of the genetic validity of the daggernose shark that combines mitochondrial and nuclear markers, which are used to identify biogeographic events responsible for the emergence and dispersal of the species in northern Brazil. The genetic distance analysis and phylogenetic trees confirm the paraphyly of the genus Carcharodonus, recovering a clade comprising Carcharodonus plus Oxyrhynchus plus Priones? So this means, are they saying that daggernose sharks and blue sharks are actually Carcharodonus? Our results indicate not only that the daggernose shark is actually a member of the genus Carcharodonus, but is genetically more closely related to Carcharodonus porosus than is to the other Carcharodonus species analyzed. That's actually interesting. Carcharodonus porosus is a small-tailed shark, and we actually have that here in the mid-Atlantic coast of the United States. So, given this, the daggernose shark and blue shark are therefore reclassified and recognized as Carcharodonus oxyrhynchus and Carcharodonus glaucus. This is insanity to me. But anyway, the daggernose shark, Carcharodonus oxyrhynchus, diverged from Carcharodonus porosus during the Miocene, when significant geomorphological processes occurred on the northern coast of South America, in particular in relation to the configuration of the Amazon River. It is closely associated with the area of the Amazon plume, and its distinctive morphological features represent autapomorphic ecological adaptations to this unique habitat and do not reflect systematic distinction from Carcharodonus. So that's actually really fascinating. I'm absolutely checking up on the blue shark right now because there's no way. There's no way. Okay, so IUCN Red List is still calling the blue shark Priones, because look at that, looks so different. But let's see what Shark References is doing. Sorry, this is definitely really nerding out right now, but I mean, this has been such a chaotic. Shark taxonomy is so chaotic. Okay, Priones glauca. Okay, so Shark References is still calling this Priones glauca. It's still calling it the blue shark. So looks like that hasn't taken yet, but it looks like the daggernose shark has taken. So that's kind of weird. So let's see. It's a nice map of daggernose shark habitat. Here we go. So the gist of this is basically that the daggernose shark is closely related to the small-tailed shark Carcharodonus porosus, and it looks extreme, but it looks extreme because the habitat changes to the Amazon River were extreme, and it uniquely evolved with the Amazon River environment. But genetically, it's not that different from the other Carcharodonus, so that's really fascinating to me. I'm still kind of feel weird about Priones glauca, like the blue shark being a Carcharodonus. It's just such a strange concept to me because it looks so different. It looks so extreme compared to the other ones, but this is a really cool phylogenetic tree of both the Carcharodonidae and Gallioceridae, the tiger shark, which is its own thing now, and then the hammerheads. So it's actually really cool. So, Oh, actually, this is an amazing study because this is actually a timeline. Look at this. So you can see where a lot of these sharks split up. So, yeah, even though we're going a little bit over 11, it's totally worth the wait because it's like, look at this. Like, so at the end of the Jurassic period, cat sharks split up from the other ones. In the Cretaceous period, musselus, so smoothhounds split up from the rest of like the requiem sharks. In the late Cretaceous, the tiger shark and the hammerheads split up from the carcharinids. So this is really cool. And apparently the daggernose shark, where is the daggernose shark? Okay, the daggernose shark, split up from the small tail shark in the Miocene. So this is like around 24 million years ago. So that's crazy. Very cool chart. Okay. I think that's all the figures for that. We'll just hop over to... Okay. This is not really a lot of specific information on the daggernose shark. Then one more paper. Oh, this one, fascinating one to end on it, by the way. I definitely want to read this. And then we'll end for tonight. But potential negative effects of the Brazilian space program on coastal sharks. So, is anyone still with me? Oh, everybody, most people are still with me. That's really cool. All right. Oh, Roy, what did the name change for the blue shark? So it looks like the blue shark is under debate. So it used to be Priones glauca, which I think is a beautiful name. And then it's being reconsidered as, a blue shark is a carcharinus. So it's being reconsidered to be a closer cousin to the famous carcharinus, like sandbar sharks and bull sharks and stuff. I think it's really strange personally because blue sharks look so extreme. But I think the argument of that last paper was like, even if it looks so extreme, like blue sharks look extreme, daggernose sharks look extreme, genetically they kind of might be still closely related and just not distinct enough from Carcharinus to be its own genus. So, which is kind of fascinating to me, but yeah. But shark taxonomy is just crazy. So, but here we go. Natasha Wozniak, Ana Paula Chavez, Renata Dowden Leite, Jorge Luis Silva Nunez, and Rachel Ann Hauser Davis. Here we go. The Brazilian government recently announced its first partnerships with the private sector, including American and Canadian companies, to use the Alcantara Space Center, Maranhão, northern Brazil. This center is known for its privileged location, saving up to 30% on fuel in launches. Its operationalization is an offshoot of the Technological Safeguards Agreement, which is important for the Brazilian space program due to greater space sector investments and environmentally relevant projects. In 2003, a major fire at the Alcantara Space Center destroyed a rocket and killed 21 workers, halting Brazilian space program activities. Recently, our research group reported serious environmental consequences of this accident, i.e. extremely high amounts of rubidium in apex predatory sharks near the Alcantara Space Center. This element is used in fuels and in space propulsion systems and is potentially toxic, displaying bioaccumulating and biomagnifying capabilities. The observed... Do you know what this is making me think of, by the way? This is making me think of Cape Canaveral in Florida. You gotta wonder, is there something similar with that as far as like Cape Canaveral launches and potential environmental impacts of that? In Virginia, Wallops Island, which is on the eastern shore, so you gotta wonder. So, the observed concentrations are the highest ever detected in any living organism. Wow. The launch base is located on the Brazilian Amazon coast, and population recruitment impacts may compromise biota conservation and biodiversity. Local shark meat consumption is also worrying, as consumers may be exposed to rubidium, whose effects in humans are unknown. We therefore indicate an urgent need for biomonitoring efforts in the area, as the Alcantara Space Center is about to operate at its maximum capacity. Well, that's relevant. That's really wild, and that's 2023. So this is brand new. Yikes! So here we go. Timeline of the space program. Oh my goodness! Look at this. Okay. Okay. Figure B is a timeline of Brazilian space program activities. Include two main disasters at the Contra Launch Center. So, Launch Center. So, 2003 was an incident. 2015 was an incident. And then C, mean of rubidium concentrations found in muscle tissues of 8 shark species sampled around the Contra Launch Center. Now, this is kind of interesting. They have daggernose shark samples. I'm curious of when they were collected. Rhizopyrodon porosus, I think that's the Caribbean sharp-nosed shark, but that's really high concentration. Scalped hammerhead Sphaerina lewini, bull shark Carcharodon lucas, small-tailed shark Carcharodon porosus. This is interesting. The small-tailed shark lives in daggernose shark range, so because they're closely related. Nurse shark Ginglumisota serratum, black-tip shark Carcharodon lombatus, and then tiger shark Galesiodox cuvier. So. Here's the Space Center, and this is right in the daggernose shark range because we've been seeing this range map over and over. I want to know where they got the daggernose shark samples from. So, okay. Okay, it's saying that they got tissue samples from the daggernose shark, but it's not saying when. I want to go back to... Okay, it has details on the launch center. It's not saying when they collected. Oh, this is interesting. Rubidium has also been detected in Arctic sharks, albeit much lower concentrations, the Greenland shark and the Pacific sleeper. This is interesting as rocket stages from intercontinental missiles repurposed for launching satellites in the Arctic Sea were dropped by Russia in the area on 10 occasions since 2002. Yikes. This is interesting. Apart from the conservationist point of view, the high consumption of shark meat across the Brazilian Amazon coast is also a call for concern, as consumers may be exposed to high rubidium concentrations. In fact, Brazil is one of the largest shark meat consumers worldwide, and even with increasing indications of high contaminant concentrations of shark meat, no sanitary surveillance programs are currently in force, and no safe consumption levels for rubidium have been established. Wow. Very interesting study. It doesn't really... Oh, no. Doesn't really indicate when the sharks were collected. There was something in that figure up there. It says shark analysis in 2018, but you have to wonder how recent that was. So, yeah. But yeah, it's almost 11:30, so we're definitely gonna start wrapping up. Let me go back to that NOAA thing, because that was really... I think that was kind of like the crown jewel tonight, where that was a really in-depth analysis of this species. So, yeah. So, this was a pretty, that's a really interesting study, because we've never really seen anything like that, where, I think all of tonight was fascinating, where it's been really in our faces as far as, like, you know, this species is well on its way to extinction. Human impact has had such an impact on this species in particular, and sharks in general, as far as like habitat destruction for mangroves, intensive fishing, no real regulation. Of the 5 countries that are in the shark's range, only Brazil has some kind of law, but Brazil doesn't enforce it because there's so much pressure from the fishing industry. And then finally you have this capstone with like this whole rocket program, you know, which it was interesting that they said the United States and Canada are using that center, or helping that center, and there's been this contamination from it. So yeah, this was definitely one of our most conservation intensive sharks ever. As far as this is definitely one of our most critically endangered, absolutely needed conservation, might become extinct species that we've ever covered. So it's always hard and depressing to go through it, but it's so important as far as to be aware of the issues, and in hopefully a way to help save the species, to help bring awareness of the species. For any current or future viewers, this is a great species to start a campaign on, or to continue to learn more, or to garner support more, or galvanize support for. And then also this species can also be a case study for sharks worldwide, in terms of we're learning at kind of firsthand critical issues impacting this shark, which ultimately does help us as far as general shark conservation in other parts of the world, where it's this was a really important stream. It's sad to see a critically endangered shark, and to see one so critically endangered that we might be losing it, to be honest. But it's important, and it's part of what conservation is all about. So yeah, I'm really glad we covered the shark today. Thank you, Minjus. It's super important. I wouldn't have even known about the shark otherwise. And that's a good point. They said in that study that part of the issue is that a lot of the fishermen don't know, they're not educated on the species. So, so yeah. But I really appreciate everybody watching. I really appreciate everybody, especially sticking it through, to almost 11:30, because this was on an unusually longer stream, but for a good reason. This is a critically endangered shark, and I'm really glad we took some time to learn more about it and learn more about its history. So this is a really, really cool stream, and I really appreciate all of you being here. So thank you. This was really great to share with you guys. So. Next week we'll be covering the big eye six-gill shark, which I'm really excited. I'm happy to go back into the depths and to see some creepy sharks. But hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will see you soon. Have a good one. Good evening to you too, Howard, and thanks for Roy. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your support for this channel. So. But have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week for the big eye six-gill shark. But take care, guys. Cheers. Bye.